How do I find the right mentor? How do I be the right mentor? Now, let's talk about the concept of mentorship. In recent years, mentor, mentee, mentorship, these terms have become commonplace. It's become trendy, and it's become necessary and critical. People understand the value of it more than we did maybe 10 years ago or 20 years ago. It was not spoken about so easily. However, now it's spoken about openly, and nowadays, people there was a time when the word mentorship or the concept of mentorship was almost like a bougie kind of thing. Like, oh, you're someone up there because you have mentorship. Nowadays, it's commonplace. Most people nowadays, even though they may not engage in the process of mentorship, they may not even have a mentor. But for sure, most people who's a thinking person right now will understand the value of it. And they will even admit that it's necessary. Because there's so much information available right now about the value and the benefits of mentorship in many areas of life. Now, I want to break this down a little bit. You see, I almost can guarantee you that you've been mentored at some point in your life, in some area of your life. You might not have called it mentorship, but you have been mentored. You may not have intentionally termed the process. You didn't even recognize it. Maybe the person mentoring you did not even call it that or didn't even recognize it as that. For example, let's say I just enjoy running. And I run every day, let's say. What will be a byproduct of that? I will develop my fitness, right? But maybe I don't run for fitness. Maybe I just run because I enjoy it. But for sure, if a fitness instructor sees me doing that, they'll be able to say, wow, you actually have the habits of someone who's developing fitness. So it's an unintended consequence of something that I'm doing anyway. So there were times in your life when an unintended consequence of what was happening at that time was the process of mentorship. So in that case of running, I'm engaging in the process of fitness without intentionally saying I'm doing it for fitness. You probably engage in the process of mentorship at some point in your life, maybe many points in your life, without actually saying I'm in the process of mentorship or I'm being mentored. Because as young people, often we follow what our parents teach us and guide us. They're mentoring us. Maybe there's someone at school, in your schooling career or university, or maybe your first job, or whatever the case is, when you start out your career, you respected, admired someone. Maybe they sowed some values into you. Maybe they shared with you. Maybe you had a coffee with them every once in a while just to chat and you learned so much from them. You liked being around them. That was mentorship in practice. They may not have said, I'm mentoring you. You may not have said, I'm being mentored. And that's okay. But you got the benefit of it, the unintended benefit of that sitting down for a coffee with someone. The unintended benefit of just being around good people in a certain area who've been further down the road than you have been, and they were willing to share. Nobody called it mentorship, but it was actually happening. So once you know that you've experienced it before, and all of us, once we understand and realize and accept that we have experienced it before, then we actually see the value in it because we know how those situations positively impacted our lives. And because we know it, now we can identify why it's so valuable. And that may then take us to the point of intentionally seeking out mentorship. Because that was unintentional maybe at different parts of your life. But if you really want to grow in particular areas of your life or in multiple areas of your life combined, we have to be intentional in our decision to grow. We must be intentional in our seeking out of a mentor, whether for a specific area in life or multiple areas. And that I think is important.